Hello and welcome to this new episode of Meeting Volunteers, the podcast where we we delve a little bit deeper in the experiences of our volunteer here at CECI. I have the honor to be joined today by Jenelle Katrine Nicolajsen-Gasana. Hi, Jenelle Katrine.
Hello, hello.
So, just to present you a little bit, to give a little bit of context of who you are. So you have a background in international development, social business, content creation, and women's holistic wellness. And through that, you've been involved in various programs, organization, and initiatives in East Africa. And most recently, you have supported with us at CECI a woman socioeconomic, as a woman socioeconomic empowerment advisor to the PSF-Specialized Cluster in Kigali, Rwanda. Is that right?
That is right. And it's a mouthful. Thanks for the introduction.
Well, thanks for being with us. Um, with you, we'll have the chance to talk, of course, about your mandate and delve a little bit deeper into a new approach to us at CECI and also to you and to the world of volunteering in general, which is the reciprocal approach. Um, I don't, I don't think your mandate was like designed in this reciprocal approach, but we'll see how there was influences of this approach in your mandate. And we'll talk a little bit about what we did at CECI through the lens of reciprocal volunteering and what we're about to do as well in Rwanda. To support this conversation, as I said, we'll use example of Bolivia and Senegal, which we had a program called the Women Entrepreneurs in Solidarity Program. We'll talk a little bit more about that later in the episode. And we'll see how it will take place in Rwanda. But the centerpiece of our episode will be your mandate, your experience, and how it ties to this approach to volunteering, as well as to the program that has been done in Bolivia, has been done in Senegal, and will be done in Rwanda.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's dive in.
Yes, absolutely. So my first question to you, just
Mm.
again, put a little bit more at the table and know a little bit more about you. We had your bio, but we kind of want to learn a bit more about more specifically what you did. Um, how many mandates have you done?
Yes, I've done three. The first one was back in 2016. It wasn't through CISI, it was through a different organization, but that was kind of my first taste, I guess, of this kind of experience. And that was in Dar es Salaam. I was thrown into the deep end of didn't know the language. Uh, yeah, had to speak Swahili to get home, taking local buses. It was a very dense neighborhood we were living in. So it was kind of a sink or swim situation. And then about a year and a half later, I did another one. This was back when CICI was joined with WUSC as Unitera. So with Unitera, yeah, I was in Arusha, Tanzania for a year mandate. Then now I'm finishing up a year of being with CICI here in Kigali in Rwanda. So three in total, but in between all that, I spent quite a bit of time between Tanzania and Kenya before coming to Rwanda here.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
have your experiences in Tanzania with another
Hmm.
organization, with Unitera after that. Now you have your
Yeah.
experience in Rwanda with the VCP, the CICI VCP, so the CICI Volunteer Cooperation Program.
Yes.
Um, but you lived also in
Mhm.
Kenya, in Tanzania, not through those mandates, just so you kind of know a little bit your way around East Africa.
Yeah, I spent about 6 years total cumulatively. There were some times I was back in Canada a bit between, but cumulatively I spent about almost 6 years between Tanzania and Kenya with some mandates in there, with also a postgraduate program in there, with also just time with myself and also growing a family. So there were lots of different different things going on throughout that time.
Oh, so you went not, if I can say, because one of the goal of those episodes as well is to, apart from deeping in to delving deeper into your mandate and our topic, which we will do, is also to see the different profiles of volunteers that we have. So
Hmm.
you were not a mother when you started your mandates, and you became a mother during your mandate.
Yeah. Yeah, correct. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So when I first went to Tanzania in Dar, I was 25, like a year after university.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and I had my son actually in Nairobi in Kenya in 2021. So he's 3 now.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations. It's nice that there's
Yes, and yes, it was an unexpected. Yeah, East Africa gave me the gift of an unexpected family.
it's good to know. It's good to see that this is also possible. So through those professional experiences and through
Hmm.
those personal experiences as well, because I
Yeah.
do believe
Yeah, it was a combo of both all happening at once for sure.
exactly, and I do believe that one influences the other in some
Oh,
ways.
definitely. Hmm.
Um, we want to talk about reciprocal approach in volunteering, but we also want to talk about, and correct me if I'm wrong, about
Mm.
notions of developing, developed. What is
Yeah.
this? How does it play into? How does those notions play into the reciprocal approach and all that? Can you tell me, like, how your view of development or cooperation, or however you want to call it, uh,
Hmm.
over all the time, with all those different experiences, how has that view changed? Like, how have those concept of develop cooperation and all that, how did it change? Like, what was your view at the start, and what is your view now?
Yeah. Okay. So the really quick answer would be it changed drastically.
All right.
But yeah, to give background and nuance and kind of how it evolved,
Mhm.
yeah, my views have changed in a lot of ways, but the two really big shifts um, kind of happened with some realizations, and I'll describe the two that really have stuck with me, I think influenced the most around my views around development. So the first kind of emerged when I was in Arusha, but I was nearing the end, actually kind of similar to right now, I have like 3 weeks left of this mandate until we shift back to Canada. So I was nearing the end of my mandate in Arusha, and it was also a year long.
Okay.
And I was on this like fence of should I extend my contract or not? Because that was an option at the time. And that was before I had a family. So, I had lots of options at that
Yep.
time, right? However, I was struggling with many different health symptoms. And at the time, I didn't have the words for what I was experiencing, but I just felt this need of, I need to slow down and process. Um, Now, when I look back, I can see I was basically on the brink of a burnout.
Right.
I was struggling with constantly feeling overwhelmed and really struggling with a lot of anxiety, but I just didn't have the conscious
Mhm.
awareness for that kind of vocabulary at the time. But I just felt like, okay, I would love to continue doing this mandate and extending the contract, but I also really feel this need for the first time in my life to kind of prioritize that for me. So I was trying to see if I could do a part-time mandate. And, of course, with funding, that's not really possible. But I just felt like I need to kind of take this leap and have space for myself. And it was the first time in my life I hadn't had anything planned. You know, I think it's really common people to have this experience, where mine was I was full time working while I was in high school, then straight to a program, then straight to university, then working while in a university. Okay, then a mandate. And then, it's like everything was so back to back, and you kind of, your schedule is always planned for you. So this was literally the first time in my life where I was, oh, I don't like, I have full autonomy
Uh-huh.
and all this space. And at first it was really, really strange.
Probably.
Like to have no expectations, nothing being like, dictated of classes or when to be somewhere, like nothing external at all influencing my schedule. And I was in Tanzania at the time, so I didn't even have family obligations, family pressure. It was just this like wide open canvas.
Complete
It was
freedom.
surreal, complete freedom. It was surreal for me, but it's just like what I needed.
It
So
can,
that kind of laid the foundation.
all right.
Yeah. So at first, I was really still stuck in that same pattern of like, go, 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 go. So I literally bought a whiteboard and I mapped out like, okay, I got to do this. I got to do this. Okay, I need to do Swahili classes. And then I got to watch the news because I got to be up to date on things. And then I got to do this and I got to do this. So I was just like, all the like things I should be doing.
Hmm.
And then it kind of at some point dawned on me, and I had this deeper realization that it's like I had this inner urge that I had to be productive. But
Hmm.
then underlying that was actually this like, it's never enough. It's never enough. So
Hmm.
I kind of started to become aware of this like very unhealthy inner dialogue I was caught up in that was like, it's never enough. I'm not advancing in Swahili fast enough. I'm not getting enough experience. And just kind of this like, I need to prove my worth and all this pressure and then what I later, as that was building, I sensed this pressure of I'm doing these things because I feel like I have to make up for my privileged upbringing.
Okay.
So that's like it was this cycle I was caught up in of like constantly feeling I had to make up for something, and then I was trying to give from this place of depletion. That's how I like when I finally slowed down, I could like see and sense all that.
I really do believe that a lot of volunteers and a lot
Oh,
of
totally.
volunteers as well will recognize
Yeah.
themselves in what you
Yeah.
said.
Definitely.
That's,
It's very common.
hmm.
But I didn't really see it until I took the space
You
and
never
then it
really
came
see
up.
it. Like you never
Yeah.
really see it when
Yeah.
you
When
take
you're when
time.
you're when you're in it, you're in it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but once I was aware of it, it sparked for me this, oh, I don't want to try to give from a place of depletion. I want to give from overflow. I want to be driven from a place of overflow,
Right?
was like my conclusion during that time. So that was when I first kind of began this journey of integrating new lifestyle habits, really being taking more autonomy over my well-being and my health and learning what actually affects it and different facets involved in that. Did a lot of inner work, a lot of self-healing and explore just more like exploring and questioning and creating just a very different. I mean, it was a journey over time, but yeah, just a very different way of prioritizing my time than I used to.
That I kind of feel that it opens up the door and
Mm.
and the opportunities for learning as well. I don't know if
Oh,
you
so much so. So much
so
so, yeah.
I feel like it kind of opens the door to learning, as I said, but also to but well, a bit to this reciprocal approach, because if like you're there to give support to organization, but also if you're open to learning, you also learn you're also open to maybe get a little bit from them as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was a big part of it. But I think like really where the big shift in the realization came from or that I took away from that was um it's the why behind that matters most, right? So I was being driven by this exhaustive place of actually was guilt,
Yeah,
right? Because I had this notion of like I had a privileged upbringing, I have to make up for it, and my worth is in this, and right, like that kind of, yeah, you can sense the anxiety in that, right?
yeah,
So this place of guilt and unworthiness, and I think that's very common that we feel we prove our worth through what we do or making impact. That can be very a common a common thing people get stuck in, right? But it's not a good motivator and it's not sustainable, right? Of course,
absolutely.
the burnout rate is really high. Um, but yeah, it allowed that deeper truth, and then that's when I realized like true development
Mm-hmm.
is impact and it's enhancement, but it's about this deeper inner drive of overflowing enrichment to others, right? So it's not, like I said, that giving of from depletion, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like enhancing through overflowing. So then what you just mentioned, like that's where the second shift came for me, right? So then
Got it.
the second shift was around the notion of privilege. And
Yes.
privilege, I'm air quoting privilege. So how I had a conversation that really stuck with me when I was in Tanzania. I got to got to interact with the cook, and her English was quite strong, so I
Perfect.
was able to really connect with her, and she really challenged my perception around privilege. So she was sharing with me that she grew up in quite a remote village. Growing up, her family pretty much subsided on a few basic staple foods.
Okay.
Um, and she said, when she was a young girl and a teenager, she started seeing others around her being able to be being able to afford different types of food, kind of more processed foods like bread and soda and candy and, those things that emerged more commonly sometimes. And she began to feel really jealous because her family couldn't afford them.
Of course.
But she said over the years, she began to notice that they would tend to have way more health issues
Yeah.
than her family or other families that were not eating that way, which was really interesting. So when I met her, she was actually working at a really, really cool boutique um, kind of getaway wellness retreat
Okay.
place as the cook, and they would source everything locally. One night they served us rabbit, so she ended up emerging with this like love for food, which ended up being a career for her. And she now views her childhood as very protective.
Okay.
And she was so grateful for it, that it was very nourishing for her health and that it did foster, her love for wholesome eating. So that was super interesting to hear. And I saw her joy in providing food from the local ingredients from the community and just the level of like connection it brought her and care and contribution. And those were all things I felt lacking in.
Okay.
And when I compared to my upbringing, it was literally the opposite. Maybe you can relate, or many people can relate. You know, like literally all the processed foods, microwave meals, craft
Yep.
dinner, tons of candy. Oh man, like I remember I was quite the candy addict when I was a
Oh.
child. Do you remember there? I don't know if you guys had this in Quebec. There was this literally, it looked like a tube of toothpaste, and you would squeeze it,
Oh,
but
that
like
was
squeeze it
delicious.
into your mouth, and it was just this like gel candy. Oh man, like I can't
Um,
believe I ate that
that
now,
was
but
delicious, though. It's
now
awful.
you missed it. You're gonna go try to find it
Awful.
after this episode.
Probably. Oh no.
Yeah, but just like the contrast, right? Like I
Yeah.
hardly ate any fruits or vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
I think I literally didn't eat beans until I was like I didn't try beans probably till I was like, or lentils till I was maybe in my like, you know, early 20s.
Yeah.
Those kind of things, right? So anyway, and then at the same time during my adolescent years, I was put on a ton of different medications for many years. And so I had a very opposite experience of her. I had a lot of health issues when I was really young. I ended up having medicine-induced lupus, which is a very severe like
Yeah,
inflammation and swelling.
it is.
Yeah, I had a lot of inflammation. I had a lot of skin issues. I was actually diagnosed with a hormonal imbalance. So I had a lot of health challenges going on. And it wasn't until I was 26 that I finally gained the understanding of the connection between diet and physical health struggles and mental health struggles. And
Mm-hmm.
I definitely went through that for many years without realizing there was that tie.
Okay. The contrast you give with her
Hmm.
experience in Tanzania, if I recall correctly,
Yes, correct. Yeah.
it kind of, to me, I don't know if your shift was prior or after your conversation with her. Let's say you had the upbringing that you had the issues that you have, and let's say like you still didn't make the links or the correlation in
Hmm.
between health issues and your diet, the conversation with her could have sparked that. If I circle it back to our reciprocal approach, to me, this is an example of shared learning.
Definitely.
See? And
Yeah.
to me, this is kind of the things that we, well, I don't know if we should. Well, I do believe that we should. I don't know if it's a universal. I don't know if
Mm.
truth. It's a belief for now. I believe that our work should be a little bit more like that. Can you tie a little bit those two shifts that you experience, those two,
Hmm.
how your view on development and all that, at like not just in development, but like a way of living, if I can say.
Um, I mean, I think it is slowly shifting, although it's still there. But I think especially when you and I were growing up,
Hmm.
there's this rhetoric, this common rhetoric, of maybe our upbringing being better because
Yes,
we're from a so-called I'm sorry, developed country. Once again,
yes,
air quotes,
yes, yes.
right? So and I was from a rich family, and she's from a air quotes developing country and a so-called poor family.
Hmm.
But exactly when looking at that, what she shared,
Hmm.
she actually had the privilege of having daily access to food that's nourishing and harmonious
Yep.
and health giving and fortifying for her body. And as a kid, it sparked her to something that was very clearly joyous for her and fulfilling and connected to her community enhancing, right? Whereas like those were things that felt completely missing from my childhood and then my trajectory into adulthood and womanhood, where I didn't get that foundation, right? So really, like I had the misfortune growing up that it was the norm of being addicted to harmful
Yes.
foods when they're in excess, right? And I was also reliant on quite, medications that were quite damaging to
Hmm.
me. So it wasn't, just like, yeah, you have something, take something, and you'll heal. Like it was I was literally on some of these medications for years, and
Yeah.
they were harming my liver without me having any awareness of it. It's more common here. People, they get something, they take something for a couple of days, but then, they're not on something habitually. Whereas in North America, it's very common people are on medications
Oh yeah.
for many, many years back to back to
Wait.
back, right? So it just kind of started to reframe for me, that yes, I had many privileges growing up. Of course, I had many privileges growing up.
Hmm.
But it was the first time I kind of realized, oh, I also had disadvantages and things growing up that were a disservice to me that other people in so-called developing countries didn't experience, and they had the opposite. And so it was that was where the big shift came in. And then to connect it to development. So it's just, I realized everyone has parts of their upbringing that protected and propelled them.
Yes.
And everyone has parts that harmed and hindered them.
Hmm.
And I began to see development and countries in the exact same light. Every country has both facets of their cultural norms and daily living that are uplifting and enriching and harmonizing towards more progress. And then they have facets that are extremely degrading and debilitating and destabilizing and disharmonious.
Absolutely.
So overall, I saw how every country is both developed and developing. So
Hmm.
I don't even like the terms developed and developing anymore because it's this like black and white, which is not true.
Absolutely not. I
Right?
totally.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's how it all came together.
It makes so much sense. Like,
And I'm so grateful to have gone through that. Like it's and I mean it's applicable to other areas of life too, just to shift away from that black and white thinking, and exactly you're more open to learning and just, I mean, it helped me be so much less judgmental. My goodness.
I can totally understand. Like I kind of had this view of, for me, developing and developed, to me as well are two words that I do not like to use. I know
Mhm.
that they are used in our sector, in what
Yeah.
we're living, both of us,
Yeah.
but it's still two things that I I dislike this view of like we are superior because we
Yeah.
have this or that, and we are gonna get you in this trajectory. Because developed, it kind of it involves this trajectory of
It
development.
creates a hierarchy. It creates
Exactly,
a false hierarchy.
exactly,
Yeah.
and it also create like there's this way to develop.
Hmm.
Like there's this
Hmm.
unique way of human beings to develop or evolve. And I don't think
Which
that
completely discredits like the richness of diversity.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I have the privilege to study in anthropology, and
Mm.
I have teachers that have done research in South America, and they share with us the 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 ontology or like the epistemology of like those cultures and how they
Yeah.
world and how they create their
Hmm.
knowledge, their reality. And I cannot believe that people would say like, oh, they're less developed than us. No, they're just different. And this
Yeah.
is rich and this is
Yeah.
beautiful. And I'm 100% sure that I can learn from their
Hmm.
their
Yeah.
reality just as much as not more from them can learn from us. Like
Hmm.
even if it's just learning what I don't want. Like it's
Yeah. Just to see it like, oh, things can be done in different ways. Okay, doesn't,
exactly. And it doesn't mean
Yeah.
that one is better than the other. It's just that one is
Yeah.
different. Maybe you're
Yeah. I have a funny example of this. Yeah, we're raised on like there's a specific tool for everything, and people own every kitchen gadget,
yep.
every garage gadget. So yeah, one day I was trying to water the garden, and I didn't understand how my husband had been doing it the whole time because it was just a hose. And for context, my husband's from Rwanda, so he grew up on like, yeah, you just kind of problem solve, and he knows how to use something in different ways, it's just innate to him. And I'm like, no, but I need the attachment. There's no attachment. And he just like put his thumb over it and created it to spray. And I'm like, I don't think maybe if I was given like 3 hours, I would have thought of it, but that would have never even dawned on me,
No,
right? Just like something so simple like that is so funny. And it's like, oh yeah,
absolutely.
you
Well,
don't necessarily need an attachment.
and honestly, it doesn't even just apply with things that work like in their country. I was at the time of recording, we just in Montreal, we had the most accumulation of snow that we had in over a century in 5 days.
Mm,
I
wow,
took the
that's
car,
intense.
I took the car, went out, I parked in a place in a parking lot, and I couldn't get out. And I had no idea. Like I was trying everything that I have learned on how to get my car out, and there was no way I could figure out. I was about to call like something to pull me out. Like I
Yeah, tow truck.
exactly a tow truck. And there was this guy that stopped his car and um like because I all right, I just had a plastic shovel. I didn't have
Hmm.
like so I couldn't break the ice. So that was the problem of why I couldn't
Mm.
get out. And this guy came to help me. He was someone from Africa that just arrived, like we talked a bit, and he told me like he just
Oh
arrived.
wow, that's intense timing for him.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
Wow.
he did something to pull
Hmm.
him out, like with a shirt or something like that. And I pulled
Wow.
out and like this. He put like a something in
Yeah.
my.
This is a great example. It's like he was your savior
He was my savior in this,
compared to like the old, you know,
and like
terrible savior model. The
it's most
opposite.
likely the first time in his life he saw snow, and he was just
Hmm.
like,
He
no,
embraced it. Oh yeah, very adaptable. Embraced it. Yeah, when
and
we first went to Canada, my husband adapted so much quicker than even I did it. Even.
it's crazy how when we don't have the
Hmm.
tool, we're just like, nope,
Yeah,
I'm just gonna
yeah,
have to call the
yeah.
tow truck and pay a couple $100s.
Exactly.
But
Yeah. And
no,
that goes back to one of the enrichments of gaining, right? It's like we're sometimes so sheltered from challenge and autonomy and exactly problem solving. So we're just like blindly in these like narrow lanes. And we get a bit disconnected from ourselves because of that too, right? Because we're meant to like be alive and problem solve and face challenges and connect with each other. And that tends to be more of the way of living um, in other countries compared to where you and I are from, right? So yeah,
I'm seeing the time fly,
yes,
and I see
definitely.
that we already are at the time where we usually should have to say goodbye. But what I would offer you is that we circle back a bit, like with that, we circle back to your mandate a little bit. And are you keen to join me for part two?
Yeah, yeah, I'm up for part two, no
Yeah.
problem.
All right.
Yeah.
So, um, how did this those shifts and this big shift actually concretely apply to your mandate in Rwanda? Like, how did you change your way of working?
I guess I started to view the opportunity of mandates to be that approach, right? Where you're able to enrich and gain enrichment rather than where I was coming from before of like kind of that pushing and pressure and force kind of way, right? And that's what I really enjoy the most about mandates, right? Is that you get to support and contribute while also getting to grow and learn and shift and gain a lot from the experience at the same time, right? So I guess, that was kind of just having that as kind of the intention and the approach going into it in the first place, right? So then in terms of practically, during this year here, um, you know, yeah, it's that same approach of kind of not just like running into an organization guns blazing style. It'd be like, okay, I'm here to do this and this and this and this, right?
Yeah.
Right. I'm here to work on this project. Right. It's yeah, observing like, okay, what's the reality? What are the gaps? Where could I actually contribute? Right. And so in this particular mandate, the cluster that I've been a part of, they emerged only a few years ago out of a restructuring. So they have a very small staff, and I realize it's at a place where they're still building its foundation and its offerings. So, some of the initial ideas that I really wanted to do weren't really going to be possible and didn't end up being possible, right? So it's also having that, I was grateful to have grown to have that understanding and that kind of approach and that humility. So what I was able to support with was their strategic plan that had been pending forever, and they have an entrepreneur's desk to serve women and youth and people with disabilities, and supporting them with a business plan for that, as well as helping the creation of their first website. A lot of it's going to be in English. And of course, I'm strong in English. I've worked on websites in the past. I've worked on content. I've worked on design. They're a small staff where they have two permanent staff and some others supporting through some contracts and partnerships, right? But, the main two women there just didn't have the capacity to really take that on, right? So getting to help ease their workload, is what I saw. Okay, that's one way I can help contribute during my time here, right? And yeah, I realized a lot of people here are paying for design, and oh man, it was really tragic. An entrepreneur came to me with a logo, so she had paid for someone to do, and they had misspelt her name because her name was part of the business, and they misspelt her name in the logo. So I'm a big fan of Canva as a tool. So I got to organize like a group two group trainings on just using Canva as a free tool for marketing and branding for business owners here. That was really fun. Yeah, and just getting to build capacity around content creation and design, around mobilizing members as well for the staff. And I got to even do a lot of one-on-one sessions and advisory sessions with the entrepreneurs. So those were kind of the ways I got to contribute and share some of the enrichment I gained over the years.
and it's really what they wanted and what they needed. It's
Yeah.
oh, I
Yeah.
really appreciate
Of
that.
course, a part of me was disappointed. Like some of the things that I had hoped I'd get to do didn't happen. But, that's also it's okay. It's also beautiful to learn to not like cling and like force things to happen.
So my mandate in Bolivia,
Yeah.
I was a positive masculinity advisor. All right.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I have all my knowledge of positive masculinities and how we can like work with that in gender equality.
Right.
And I arrived in the organization and I was ready to share all my
Gung ho. Yeah.
knowledge. And they were the leaders in the Hispanic world on masculine positivity, positive masculinity. I had absolutely nothing to bring on the table through that. They
Mm,
actually showed me a
amazing.
ton about positive masculinity,
Wow.
but they wanted to
Mm. But
enhance
that's really refreshing, right? To actually see it being practiced and not
it.
just like,
It was
right?
it was
Yeah.
great, but I was like, okay, well, how can I support you? How can I help you? They were
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
well, we want to broaden our offerings of tools for people, like because they have trainings, but they also offer like, well, they have trainings and workshops, and they also offer like tools outside of the organization. And they were like, and we wanted to do a podcast, but none of us have podcast experience, and
Hmm.
so can you help us with that? And I was like, well,
Hmm.
yes, I can. I've did like two podcasts previously personally.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
so this is how like we make trainings and workshop on how to use different tools and how to promote the podcast and how to actually really do a podcast with the
Mm.
it was absolutely not what I thought I was going to
Mm. Right.
because I was bringing this part to the table while I was being even more trained on something that I thought I
You thought you were the expert in, yeah.
exactly. I thought I was the
Yeah.
expert in coming in,
Yeah.
and I just
Yeah.
like so humbling experience being,
Hmm.
oh,
Hmm.
I'm nothing like in this
Hmm.
topic. I'm nothing compared to you guys. Like
Hmm.
literally.
Hmm.
So and
Yeah. Yeah. So it's more about you giving them a platform to
exactly,
showcase. Yeah.
exactly. But at the same time, they
Yeah.
didn't know how to get that platform.
Yeah.
So it's like
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
me, this is
Yeah. It's about dispelling those assumptions, right?
exactly. And to
Yeah.
me, this is the core of
Hmm.
reciprocal volunteering is
Yeah.
destroying those ideas that we have
Mm.
that we're trained to have and
Yeah.
like understanding that no, not
Yeah.
actual.
Definitely. So that's where the other piece comes in, right? You asked, like, how did I practically do it,
Yep.
right? So yeah, I shared how I practically got to enrich, but exactly, each opportunity is you get to experience new things and you get to admire and appreciate and learn from those facets of that country or culture, right? So I gained so much enrichment. So, during my time and it's so fascinating. Rwanda is so different than Tanzania. Tanzania is so different than Kenya, right? There's been I can't speak to all the things that I've gained insights and into and how they've shaped and changed me and helped me see life better and see myself better. And we would need probably 60 more podcast episodes, right? But to just share about in this past year and my experience here, mainly in Kigali. So, one of the biggest things that stood out to me is Rwanda has a very strong embedded value around like contributing and community. Um, and they have very unique things about this. So they have something called Umuganda, which happens the last Saturday of every month. In the morning, communities organize themselves locally and neighborhoods, and they meet and they talk about something and they share, or they can bring up a challenge like, there was this safety issue we noticed, or let's all chip in and improve this path. Um, you know, and that's just normalized, or to clean up something, or there's so many different things that they do or ways that they do it, but that is a monthly norm. Another really interesting example of this is here when someone sneezes, they say urachire. And urachire means, it's a bit hard to translate, but it's kind of like, I wish you to be prosperous and well. And then the common response is tuese, which means all of us.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So literally, it's just like ingrained, like, yeah, like we all, it's about it's like all of us enhancing together.
Mhm.
And exactly like they spend so much, some of the dishes they prepare take a lot of time. So just to see how, the all opposite of us, right? Like let's click a button on the microwave, like my upbringing sometimes at moments, right?
Yeah.
And just the days of preparing certain things. Like a really common dish here is they actually eat cassava leaves
Yes?
so people are actually like in other cultures, people are scared of cassava leaves because if you don't prepare them properly, they can be considered poisonous or very hard on the system. But they like mash, they like yeah, I don't even know the whole process, but it's long, and then they cook for a really really long time so that they are ready, and then they add this like ground peanut, so it's really delicious.
Okay.
Um, and then the norm is here, you would not eat alone if someone else is there. It's always sharing, which is, in a lot of other countries too, right? Um, yeah, just exactly like tying back to that story, right? Just the norm of it. The norm is accessible, affordable, whole, nourishing foods. That's, there's lots of fruits and the greens are eaten, lots of root vegetables are eaten, beans, like that's the norm. And there's like all these trends in North America now of like people starting to eat more beans and lentils because they're
Yes.
now realizing and it's like, this has just been the norm for years and years, right? Another really interesting thing here is twice a month, they actually have a car-free morning. So
Oh,
they have a lot of initiatives to be more, sustainable and green. So they close the majority of roads, not all of them. Of course, sometimes people need to go to hospitals or other things to move around. But they literally twice a month have a car-free morning and they block a whole bunch of roads. And so you'll see families like going on bike rides down these main hilly, Rwanda is very hilly, down these hilly roads, or you'll see people walking or rollerblading or teenagers in a group skateboarding down the hills. It's really beautiful to see, right? Like that's like what? Like why doesn't something like that exist in Canada, right? Or one oh, I'm so grateful.
mhm.
Um, I learned while I was here how to put my son on my back, how to tie him on my back.
Okay,
And
yes.
it has been a game changer because
Oh.
all those carriers that are more common,
Mhm.
like they put so much tension and pressure on my shoulders and it made me so sore. The way that they tie, you don't have any weight on your shoulders.
It's all on your hip.
Um, yeah, it's on your hips and on your core. And my son loves it, especially when he's unsettled or sleepy. Like sometimes like he just asks for my back to fall asleep once in a while. And it's like it feels so fun to wear him as a backpack. And sometimes it's actually just been so practical and helpful. So that was amazing. And a mom, we had a lady coming to help with my son sometimes and some cooking and some cleaning. And I was trying to understand how I was gonna wean him from nursing. He'd been breastfeeding for more than 2.5 years. And if we felt like it was time, and she gave me this tip because she has 3 kids, and it was so helpful. She was like, we put something bitter so that they don't like it anymore. Because I tried to just like different things work for different kids and different babies,
Absolutely.
but the common approach in Canada I kept hearing was to just like slowly decrease it, and
Yes.
that would make him more upset. He would cry for 3 hours straight.
Mhm.
For his personality, he needed like it's an option or it's not an option.
All
So
right.
like learning having that tip from her
Mhm.
was like beyond helpful. So just like those kind of things, just those
Absolutely.
those enriching things that exactly like they really did. I've helped my day to day so much, and just being in awe and admiring of how they do things here. um
That's
there's
great.
there's more, but those are few.
No, they're few, but they're very good examples and very good
Yeah.
practical way that it changed. So a lot of learning
Hmm.
from each side, on the
Yeah.
professional side, on the personal side as well, and from each other. Unfortunately, our time for this first episode is kind of up. So what I suggest we wrap it up here. We see each other in another episode where we sum up a little bit what we just talked about and what is in simple and direct words reciprocal volunteering. Then we tie it up with what we do at CECI and how is it the norm or not in the sector. And I would also be really open to hear what you think should be the norm. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Perfect. So Jenelle, Katrine, thank you very much for this first episode, and we will see you really soon in a little part two.